this video, we're going to learn how to print things to the screen. If you haven't set up Visual Studio already, then check out my previous video on how to do that, and then come back to this. Some of the code we're about to write might look a bit alien and intimidating, but don't worry, we will go through each line of code in detail. We will also go through each of the concepts in this video in much greater detail in future videos. The first thing we need to do is include the IO stream library by writing our very first line of code. So that will be like this: include IO stream. This indicates that we want to include the functionality contained within the IO stream library in our program, which we will need to print things to the screen. Next, we need to write our main function. The main function is the entry point of our program, and every C++ program needs to have one. Whenever you run an executable, your operating system does a lot of things in the background for the program, such as allocating memory, spawning a new thread for the program, and calling the main function. So it needs to be written in a specific way. So we're going to write int space main and then some parentheses. After that, we need to define the body of the function using these curly braces. Those curly braces defines the start and the end of the main function's logic, which is where we'll actually write our code. The last thing we need to write before writing our actual code is return 0. And then a semicolon. This means that when the code that you have written inside the main function has finished running, the operating system that called the main function will expect you to give it a value telling it how it went running your program. A value of 0 indicates that everything went fine, and you will very rarely return something else. If something goes wrong in your program, the vast majority of the time, you will handle that in the program itself instead of telling the operating system about it. And now we're ready to actually write our own code. What you see here will probably be the framework for 99% of the programs that you write in the beginning, as we will write code and then print the results of that code to the screen. So we're going to write this confusing line of code. std : cout. And two of these less than signs, or angle brackets as they're called. Hello world in quotation marks. Then two more of these angle brackets. And lastly, std : endl, which stands for end line, and the semicolon at the end. So let's go over what's happening here. The std prefix is common for all functionality in the C++ standard library, and we need it to indicate that we're specifically referring to the functionality contained within the standard library, which the IO stream library is part of. So std_cout is essentially an object in the C++ standard library that we want to push things into to print things to the console window. So the way to visualize this line is imagining this line of code collapsing from the light to the left into std_cout. So follow the direction of the angle brackets on what will be printed first. Two angle brackets before hello world and std end line indicate that we want to push these things into std_cout to print things to the console window. So we want to print out hello world, so we write that. Next, we push an std end line into it to indicate that this is the end of the line. If we didn't have std end line here, the next thing we would print would be on the same line, which we don't want. We also end this line of code with a semicolon, which indicates that that is the end of the statement. Just like the English language, we use periods to indicate the end of a sentence. We use semicolons in C++ to indicate the end of a statement. Now we're ready to run this program and see if it all works. You can either go to debug and start debugging, or you can press F5 to start the program. You should see this window and you should see Hello World printed to it. If it all works, then congratulations, you just wrote your very first C++ program. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and let me know what I should do next in the comments below. See you in the next video.